So hi everyone, and welcome to tonight's Thankful Thursday. So happy that you could be here with us. I'm going to have some music playing in the background, but it is licensed, nice relaxing music today. We're going to be doing some Yin Yoga, yay! So I love Yin Yoga because it's great for gaining flexibility, it's great for beginners, and it's also great for when you're coming back from an injury or something like that. So as you guys know, I've been sharing with you, hi, I see people waving. I'm about almost 5 weeks out of a total hip replacement. So I still have a little bit of working to do on that hip. So for today, I'm going to be using a lot of props for myself to kind of open up or to help with the hips. I recommend, if you're doing this at home, to get some pillows, some blankets. I'm going to be using a yoga bolster, but you could certainly substitute a pillow. I'm going to use 2 or 3 yoga blocks and a couple yoga blankets, but just use whatever you have. We'll come to a comfortable seated position, and we'll start with one of the meditations that I wrote for my upcoming book. So to begin, we're going to interlace our fingers. Let's see. With the left pinky as the base, so that's going to be on the outside, and you're going to press your index fingers and your thumbs like this together, so you're kind of making that triangle, but then the index fingers come into your breastbone. And your shoulders are going to roll back and down. You can sit up nice and tall, lengthening. Feel free to either close the eyes, or we'll begin with those nice, deep, yogic 3-part breaths. If you're a yogi, we call it Dirga breathing. You're going to inhale and fill belly, the ribs, all the way up to your collarbones on the inhale, and then exhale, reverse the direction, drawing the navel muscles slightly in at the base, and just continuing, taking a few of those lovely, deep breaths, centering yourself, moving out of that fight or flight, down into rest and digest. Okay. And so as you hold this hand position, know that it's known as in yoga Uttara Bodhi Mudra, which is the gesture of the highest wisdom. And I like to anchor it with doTERRA's Motivate. It's a nice, refreshing kind of scent. This is going to open and balance the 4th chakra, or Anahata, which is the center of unconditional love. It helps to allow our breath to move into the center of the chest and open up our side rib cage as well. And it helps us to enhance energy and immunity by stimulating the thymus gland. It's going to assist us in opening up to integrity, confidence, and authenticity on the journey towards self-mastery. So continuing to take those nice deep breaths. If you like, you can even repeat the following mantra silently to you. It's my inner wisdom, knowing that I have all that I need to live to my fullest potential. I embrace my inner wisdom, knowing that I have all that I need to live to my fullest potential. Albert Einstein said, reality is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. And isn't it interesting, I wonder if you already know, that what we see in the world really is an illusion. Once you realize that what you see around you is based on what you have been told to see or conditioned to see, you might begin to understand that reality is not necessarily a constant state, but rather a state you can influence in a major way. You see, you can create your own reality, can you not? And this is done easily and automatically by focusing there and believing in yourself. Many folks have been told things were impossible, and having not believed this to be true, they have gone on to create many inventions, products, even ways of life. Reality is truly what you make it to be for yourself. And so I'd like to invite you to take a long and easy breath in and just focus on what you'd like to be doing or what you'd like to achieve in the future. That's right. Just really stepping into that way of feeling. Perhaps see yourself having fun, enjoying this here. That's right. Good, good, good. And then gently, whenever it's right for you, slowly coming back to the room. You can shake the hands out, release. I'm just going to check some of the comments, making sure that everyone, okay, people are watching. You can hear me? Okay, just checking. One time I recorded this whole class and without sound. Not so fun. All right. So then just beginning to kind of shift side to side. Maybe you circle around a little bit. The yin practice, I'm going to be setting a timer just so that I have us working evenly on both sides. And you want to come into positions to an appropriate depth. What that means is because we're holding these positions for a period of time, you don't want to go into your deepest and fullest potential. And another thing to keep in mind is yin is the opposite of yang. So our typical yoga class that we see on TV, or if you are a yoga, your flow kind of classes, it's that masculine energy. It's active, active, active. And yin is very passive, very receptive. We're not engaging our muscles. We're kind of just coming into it cold, coming into the positions and holding for a time. Easy kind of process, but it can actually be rather strenuous as well. All right. So that being said, I've got my little timer set here. We're going to start out by just coming onto our bellies. I'm going to do half of this sideways so that it's a good view for the camera, just to guide you as well. So we'll come onto our bellies, and I'm just pausing here. You can take a couple more breaths here, letting your belly really inflate so you feel it kind of pressing into your mat or the floor. And you can take it to be half frog or Ardha Mandukasana. You can just take a few breaths here, nice deep breathing again. Perhaps you're even repeating to yourself here, I am creative, I am creative, I am creative. We're opening up that sacral chakra a little bit. You can switch to the opposite side. So some of these poses are just going to be gentle little stretches, and some of them I'm going to have us hold for up to 3 minutes. If I was teaching a regular kind of yin class, it's usually 90 minutes. I won't keep us here that long. I also do yin workshops that are a few hours long, but this, so you might be repeating again, I am creative, or I am intuitive. I'm creative and intuitive, perhaps. So we're gonna have those legs stretched out behind us. So you won't have to move on your mat. I'm just going to change direction so it's easier for me to demonstrate for the camera. I'm going to do what I've learned to call happy shoulders. So you're going to thread your right arm underneath your left so your elbows are kind of close together. If you have any shoulder injuries, just sink down here into a nice deep kind of stretch and take a few breaths here, opening up. One more breath on this side. And then gently switch the arm that's in front. So you're coming back into happy shoulders on the opposite side for those same few breaths. And then releasing out of that. So we're going to come into a gentle kind of seal pose. This won't be one of our longer holds. So for your seal, you can also do kind of a little cobra if you prefer, which is down lower. But if you want to come up into the seal, you'll press up like so. Just breathing. Keeping the shoulders rolling down and back. We're not going to hold this one really long. Be careful of your lower back on this one if you're coming into the full seal. About 2 more breaths here. And then lower down into that Sphinx pose. So your elbows are right behind your wrist. And your shoulders are rolling back and down here. You can pause and just shift side to side here, releasing out your lower back a little bit. So this is helping to stimulate the lung meridian as well. And we're going to rise up to a table position. So if you feel like you're a little bit tight or anything, feel free to take a couple cat-cows, not really part of the yin itself, but just to get the body moving a little bit. We're going to tuck our toes very gently. We're going to come up into a downward facing dog, Adho Mudra Savasana. Now, so it can be a nice soft dog. You don't have to have the most perfect alignment, but you can walk your dog a little bit to stretch out anything you like here. We're going to walk it forward into that forward fold. You're going to just ragdoll here for a moment. So you can do that. You can keep your knees a little bit bent if that feels good. You can bring one elbow towards the front and then the other just to loosen everything up. And then we're going to gently begin to roll our way up. Bring our arms overhead and lengthen out. Oh, I think I gave myself a chiropractic adjustment just now. And then we're going to begin to roll. So we're going to be stepping into a lizard pose. I like to have a block on each side. I have leg warmers on because I use them to cushion my knees as well, but I'm going to show you how to do it with a blanket in case you want to be cushioning your knees, because I realize not everybody at home is going to want to wear leg warmers like me, right? So I'm going to take the blanket out like so. And as we're rolling down, we need a timer as well. I'm going to step back to that gentle downward facing dog for a moment here. And then I'm going to inhale my right leg up to three-legged. I'm going to bring that right knee forward. And I'm going to step forward into a lizard lunge. Okay, so my right hip is a little tighter. However, I think I can do this one pretty easily. I'm going to use the blocks just to help out here. So if we were in a Yin Yoga practice class, we definitely want to keep our knee over our ankle. If you're doing Yin, you can, because we're holding for a time, we're not jumping around, you can bring your knee a little bit forward. It is going to make it a little more intense. So I'm going to come to kind of a happy medium, and I'm going to set our little timer here. So we're going to hold this pose. The blocks are here if you need to kind of adjust or to take a break. And basically, you're just holding the pose and breathing. So you're going kind of deep within. It's very internal. You just focus. So if you have a really busy mind, you might even think about counting the breath. When we lengthen the exhales, it takes us even further into relaxation. So sometimes I have people just count to about 4 on an inhale, and then think about exhaling to 6. So the full count of inhale and exhale takes about 10 counts or 10 seconds or so. And if you're doing that, you're slowing your breath down to as few times as 6 per minute. So that's very, very relaxing to the mind, the body. Normally we breathe about 15, 18 times a minute. Another thing you can do is the ocean or ujjayi sound. You can construct ocean. Sometimes it's called victory breath. So it's inhaling and exhaling like so. I'm not sure the camera will pick that up. The slang term for it is Darth Vader breathing. But just holding the position. So remember, you don't want to go in too deeply because you want to be able to hold it for a time. So 3 minutes is not going to be terribly long time for most of us to hold this. In some of my classes and workshops, we'll hold a position like this for 5 to 10 minutes. However, I want to give everybody kind of, just a little bit of a sampling of a yin kind of practice. So just focusing on your breath. And it is also quite normal for a lot of folks as we get into a very deep yin practice to have some emotions surface, because we're really doing a lot with the hips and we store a lot of emotions sometimes in the hip area. And yin is also known as the feminine, whereas yang is the masculine, the firing, the fast muscle stuff. So you can think about a yin practice as being for more the joints than the muscles. And we want to hold things where our muscles have elasticity. So it's great for our muscles to have this fast fire kind of motion and stuff. But when we're working on our joints, you can think of a joint with plasticity like a credit card. If you go snap, 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 it's going to break. So you want to kind of bend and hold for a time. It's going to help you get that flexibility in the joints, get lubrication going. All right, so that's almost 3 minutes. So you can back out a little bit and do any little movements that feel really good. And then we're going to tuck the toe behind us, that left toe behind us. And we're going to take that right leg up, stretch it out. And bring it back down. And then we're going to take our left leg up to knee in to pigeon. In yin, pigeon is called sleeping swan. So if that's a comfortable position for you, you're welcome to just kind of be here. If not, you can prop yourself up. You can also use a bolster, pillow, etc. Just after you're there, you square off your hips, inhale, and on the exhale, fold it forward, and that's why it's the sleeping swan. And I'll be setting our timer here. Again, you really just want to kind of stay with any feelings, stay with the breath. Really focusing on keeping the breath. So if I had you here in person, I might even, if it was comfortable and you wanted it, I have sandbags that helps to deepen. So sometimes we place sandbags on the body. Again, I use doTERRA's Motivate for some aromatherapy. So we're just breathing and deepening. And so after you come into your stillness, into your position to an appropriate depth, then you want to find that stillness. Once you have your stillness and you're breathing and you're keeping it nice and smooth, you want to hold it for a time, and that's basically the 3 principles of Yin Yoga. And so just breathing, relaxing. If you ever feel a need to come out of one of the positions in Yin Yoga, we like to think that it's kind of good to come all the way out as opposed to kind of leaning to one side or coming, a little bit out of the position. Just come all the way out, take a little pause, and then go back into the position in an appropriate depth. Of course, honor your body. If anything is painful, feel free to reach out. I can always give you modifications. So about 3 more breaths here. And then finding your hands under your shoulders, press up. We're going to tuck that back foot underneath us. Lift the left leg back up to your 3-legged dog. You can pause and come to downward facing dog in between sides. Sometimes in the really deep positions, I'll even take a mudra like Akasha mudra, which is middle finger to thumb. It means infinite possibilities. I like that one a lot. And it is normal if you feel yourself starting to sway or to shake a little bit. As long as if you need to back out, back way out, and then come back in. Really bringing the focus to the breath. Knowing that everything is perfectly okay in the here and now. A little shaking, it's fine. So if you need to take that break, and just come way, way out and come back in. So about 5 more of those nice, long, slow breaths. Last one. And then if you want to shifty a little bit, that's fine. We're going to then lower our hands, tuck our right toe behind us, lift that left leg up into your 3-legged dog, and then lower it down. If you want to walk the dog or shift the hips, feel free. So then we're going to inhale that right leg up to 3-legged, bring the knee into the nose, and you'll find your sleeping swan on this side. So I'm going to prop up my hip, because this is the surgical hip. Just giving it a little extra cushion and love. Coming into your appropriate depth. And so I'll demonstrate it if you want to have a pillow or bolster in front of you to kind of help prop you up as well. You're right here. And then just sinking in and breathing. So this can be a really lovely practice to do with candlelight, or, you know, it's kind of stormy outside, which is kind of what put me in a yin mood today here in Florida. It's also kind of a nice thing to do, you know, on a weekend or before taking a hot bath. It's a nice self-practice, a nice self-care practice, which I really like. Dropped our timer here. And so when you're in this pose, you probably can't see it from here, and this is a little bit tighter on the side for me, but you still want to be taking those 3-part breaths. So you actually want to have the breath inflating the back of the body. It's going to give you that whole back body kind of massage, just using your own breath. Very lovely. And about 3 more breaths. And then bringing the hands below the shoulders, lengthening your way up. I'm going to tuck that back toe, lift that right leg back up to your 3-legged, lower it down. You're in your regular downward facing, walk it out, shift it out. When you're ready, you're just going to lower your knees down to the mat. I'm going to turn sideways. You don't have to turn, just to demonstrate the next pose, which is going to be our heart melting on a Hatasana, or some people call it puppy pose. So for this one part, we're going to walk our hands out. So my butt is going to stay directly over my knees. And I'm going to lower my chin and my chest down. And I'm going to pause here. I won't hold this for that long. If that's too intense, I just slip. You can always bring a pillow and kind of prop yourself up. But it is to open up the heart. So you do want to get into the deepest position you can, and while you're holding it, you can be repeating, I am wanted and loved. I am wanted and loved. I am wanted and loved. I deeply and completely accept myself. I deeply and completely accept myself. I deeply and completely accept myself. And a few more breaths here. And go ahead and just slide your way back up to that table position. I'm going to move the blanket aside just for a moment. So we're going to move into a toe stretch. Sometimes we call it toe crunch asana. Two different ways to do it. You can tuck your toes and just press back into them. The normal way, well, it's not really any normal, but the original way, the Ashtanga way, I should say, of doing it was to keep your feet flat. So this is an intense stretch and to just roll back on them. Now, if that's too much for you, I was a ballerina when I was younger, you can tuck the toes and kind of just get. So you just want to get into that ankle stretching basically here. So you're going to hold it just not really long, but a few breaths here. And then we'll lower our knees down. And I'm going to pull the blanket back out because we definitely want cushions around us. I'm going to move into kind of a saddle pose. So saddle can be an intense pose. I'll demonstrate it the full kind of version way, and then I'll do some of the modifications for it. So for your saddle, you want to have your knees as close together as possible here, and your heels are off to the side, of course. And then you're going to begin to kind of lower back. So some people will just be up like this. You want to use your breath if you're going all the way back. It's a big stretch. You can take your arms up overhead. You do want to keep your knees down. So that's not going to take a block underneath your hips and kind of do it this way. And there's ways to make this doable for a lot of different folks. Sometimes I use 2 blocks. Sometimes I bring a bolster and some blocks up behind them. And you just kind of figure out how it's going to work for whatever individual is there. And then keeping the knees down so it stretches out the quads, the hip flexors. And just breathing. So this is a pose that I probably have folks hold 2-3 minutes. We won't hold it that long today. We'll hold it about another 5 breaths. So when you're ready, make sure you come out evenly as possible on both sides, keeping the knees down. If you used any props, you're going to move those off to the side, smooth out any blanket that's underneath you. Maybe you pause and you do a couple cat-cows here. We're going to come into kind of an intense stretch now. It's known as full frog. So again, I'll demonstrate a couple of different ways to do it. This one I think I'll do sideways. It's kind of awkward to do not live here. Basically, and I do recommend cushioning the knees here, you're going to be sliding your knees off to each side. You can lower down onto your forearms. And so your ankles are going to be behind the knees. You don't want them out farther or in too much. You're just going to let yourself sink here. So you can be intense on the hips. I'm just breathing. So if that's too much, you can always use, I would probably use a bolster for this one. to kind of get a little bit of stretch going. You can also prop blankets up or blocks on top of the bolster. But just holding for a time. If it's absolutely impossible to do that, you can shift forward and bring the feet together in what we call tadpole. It's a little bit different. Different muscles are being used, but it is still a yin kind of restorative, sort of stretchy kind of posture. So just breathing in either frog or tadpole. So the more you just focus on the breath and let the muscles relax, you may begin to notice sooner or later that the stretch deepens on its own, simply because you are relaxing. So we'll do about 5 more breaths here. Again, this is a very abbreviated class. When you're ready, you can slide forward. You can bring both feet up and just windshield wipe and reverse the legs here. Perhaps even repeating to yourself, I am grounded. I have everything I need. I am grounded. I have everything I need. I am grounded. I have everything I need. And we'll straighten our legs out and press back up to a table. We'll slide ourselves back to a child's pose. So make it a child's pose that you love, whether it's spreading the knees wide or close together. You can have the hands back behind you or stretched out. And just holding your child's pose here. Perhaps repeating, I am safe and secure. I am safe and secure. I am safe and secure. Maybe you even rock your forehead back and forth, massaging that third eye center. And as you do so, you can repeat, I am connected with the wisdom of the universe. I am connected with the wisdom of the universe. I am connected with the wisdom of the universe. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. Lovely. And then gently coming back up. I'm going to sit over to the side here. And so we'll bring our legs out in front. Maybe you give them a little bounce here. Okay. And so we're going to spread our legs into a straddle split. So this is a humbling experience for me because I used to, before my hips started, to be able to just like spread my legs and lie flat on my belly, and we aren't there yet. So I really have empathy for people with tight hips now. So I'm going to use a lot of props for myself, like I used to teach other students to do. So you're just going to make yourself comfortable here. You can use anything you like. Sometimes blankets are more comfy, but anyway, you're just kind of leaning forward. You can always lower your forehead to a block or a blanket, wherever you're at. And let me get my little timer in case we hold this one. I'm just taking those deep breaths here. So in Yin, we would call this probably a dragonfly instead of a straddle split. Or just breathing. And so what's also nice about this is you don't have to flex or point your feet. You're not really engaging the muscles. You want to kind of just let them be because we're working on the joints, not the muscles. I know my feet tend to point or flex as that dancer in me wants to activate things, but I do remind myself as well as you guys, just let it be. We're focusing on the breath here and the joints. So this is another one where you might notice that after you hold it for a time, in your appropriate depth, it does become easier to sink a little deeper as the body relaxes. So a relaxed body is a relaxed mind, a relaxed mind is a relaxed body, which is part of the process that I came up with when I was studying hypnosis, and I realized that hypnosis and yoga really are great tools to use together, so I came up with the Unwind the Mind Hypno-Yoga therapies. Not that we're doing hypnosis in a split. That would be interesting. But we use a lot of the breath work and the mudras and anchoring in when we do the process. So keeping your focus as much as possible on the breath. And if you do find your mind beginning to wander and think, then just know that's what minds do, but bring it back to the breath. Maybe even begin to count your breath. And staying present for yourself. And so we'll do about 5 more breaths here. Helping yourself to sit upright. If you had any props in front of you like I did, I'm going to move them away. And take a little minute here, bounce your legs out a little bit. And so from here, you can take one leg and cross it over into a half shoelace. And so I like to use a block for this one. And you're going to fold forward to wherever it's comfortable. So I don't really necessarily need a block on one side. This side's a little tighter, so I might, but a lot of folks will just like to have that block here. And just, this one we'll do about 5 breaths altogether. And last one on this side. And then gently coming upright and switching the sides. Bounce out in between if that feels good to you. So there's that half shoelace again. Feel free to use block. You can also use a pillow, bolster, blanket. Just breathing. Last one on this side. And making your way back up. Uncross the legs. Pause and bounce them out a little bit. So we're going to come into a butterfly, which in a yang practice, folks like to get their heels really close in. So that's more the cobblers. This one's more a tarasana or butterfly, so you want your legs to be out farther in front of you. And from here, you can just begin to fold forward. So again, I might prop up this knee just a little bit so I have the comfort in the hip to really focus on just my breath work here. I'm just gonna fold forward. And again, it's not that striving to get down, it's kind of just going to that appropriate depth and then letting the body do what it does on its own. So just breathing. do about 5 more breaths for this one. Slowly coming up. You can even help your knees to come together. Maybe you windshield wipe nice and gentle here, relieving that. And so this next pose is called hammock pose. And this is usually where people are like, why can't we hold this one long? All you do is you kind of lean back, kind of like you're at the beach here. You're on your elbows behind you. So this is opening up the throat chakra. So all you're doing is you're just breathing and hanging out here. You can even repeat to yourself, I have a right to speak my truth. I have a right to speak my truth. I have a right to speak my truth. Maybe you move your neck around a little bit. And we don't hold that one long even in a longer workshop kind of class. So we come back up. We're going to move into caterpillar. Caterpillar is the yin version of a forward fold, or let's see. So for a yin class, we might use the bolster. You don't have to. You can just kind of hang out here. But you can make it a little bit more restorative by holding the bolster there. So this is a pose that we would hold pretty long, up to 5-10 minutes. I won't have us here that long today. But we can hold it for a few moments, just breathing here. So you can even start out with a pillow, coming into that appropriate depth and just relaxing your body, relaxing your mind, focusing on the breath. And then maybe release the bolster after a time, deepening. Only if it's right for you, of course. Just honoring what's going on in your body, in your mind, and in your practice. Keeping the breath nice and smooth. If the mind begins to wander, simply draw it back to your breath. You can focus on the breath flowing in and out through the nostrils. You can count the breath if you prefer, lengthening those exhales. Or you can focus more on feeling the breath moving throughout your whole body. So deepening if it's appropriate. About 5 more breaths. And one more deep breath in and out. Slowly coming up. Feel free to make those little windshield wiper movements, anything that feels good to you. So we're going to be coming into a lovely pose here. This is a lot more restorative in nature in my opinion, but we use it in Yin as well. We're going to build a little tower with blocks. So it's going to look kind of like, you can do it like that or like that. I kind of like that, it's a little sturdier. And then, so it's a little staircase with your blocks. Give yourself a little tap here, putting the bolster on it. A couple different things you can do with your blanket. Sometimes I make spaghetti noodles if I'm teaching a class. So a spaghetti noodle blanket is really long, and then you make this little circle. And you'll be leaning back. You can cover yourself with another blanket. So I would be coming around and placing this underneath students' kind of ankles. So what it does is it's going to support the knees as they part open. So you're coming into that reclined bound angle, Supta Baddha Konasana, with the bolster. You can also put things underneath you. A lot of times it feels kind of nice to just cover up a little bit here. You can also have a block or another blanket behind your head, anything that feels good to you. This one we generally hold pretty long, just relaxing and breathing, opening up. It's a very heart opening position, obviously. It's also hip opening. It's pretty accessible for most people, and with the props, yoga props or anything else you use, it's fairly comfortable. Most people really like this pose or a version of this pose. So we won't hold it really long tonight because I don't want to keep you guys too long, but we'll hold it for a couple minutes and just letting the breath flow. So we'll have a couple more breaths here. Let's do 3 more breaths. When you're ready to come out, gently help your knees come together and sit forward. Some people do kind of like to stay in that pose for a shavasana or a final meditation, but I did want to do one other pose first. So if you want to come back to that instead of your regular full lying down pose, you can leave your pup set up like so. I'm going to set my blanket back up to sit on for the end class. And then we can do our for a final twist, I like to do banana asana, and it makes me laugh just to see that. Basically, you're lying flat on the floor, and you're going to take your arms up overhead, and you're going to bring them all the way over to the right, and then you're going to bring your feet all the way over to the right, and you can take that left ankle on top, maybe you gaze up to the opposite side. You just take a few breaths here, so you're kind of curling like a banana. So it really gets the breath into those side ribs, it stretches you out. And then uncross the ankles, come back to your center, move everything over to the left. If you like, you can cross that right ankle over and gaze to the opposite side. And take those 3 breaths here. Come back to the center. If you want to hug your knees in or rock back and forth to massage out the lower back, if you want to take a happy baby, anything at all here, feel free to do so. And then begin to make your way into your final resting pose, your Shavasana. If you prefer to use the props that you had set up for the last pose, feel free to do that now. And then making your way into that final resting pose. Just letting everything else go. Whole body resting on the ground. Feeling the back of the head, shoulders, muscles of the neck melting and relaxing. There's nothing left for you to do. Just be, allowing the breath to deepen. Cushion for each and every vertebra. Hips and buttocks sinking down. Back of the legs. Heels of the feet. Heavy and grounded. Entire back of the body. Heavy and sinking. Like a stone in sand. Top of the body light and buoyant, as if floating on a cloud. A global sensation of both the heaviness and the lightness of the body simultaneously. Body heavy and light, heavy and light, heavy and light. Sensation to the mouth, upper lip, lower lip, the space between the lips, the inside of the upper teeth, lower teeth, tongue, jaw, relax. The inside of the cheekbones, hollow tubules radiating from the inside of the cheeks to the outer peaks and valleys of the ears, bridge of the nose, tip of the nose, right nostril, left nostril. The difference of temperature between the inhale and the exhale. Both nostrils hollow and empty. The eyes, orbs of sensation, shimmering energy. Upper lids, lower lids, the space between the lashes, brow, forehead relaxed, eyes sinking deep within the head to that universe that knows no space nor time. Tracing an invisible line back from the brow, through the scalp to the nape at the back of the neck. Shoulders, upper arms, heavy and sinking. Elbows, wrist, light and buoyant. The hollowness of the palms of the hands and all of the tiny bones that make up the fingers. Right rib cage, left rib cage, the hollow notch at the base of the throat. Breath flowing in from the crown of the head all the way down to the tips of the toes. releasing anything that no longer serves you. And inhaling in from the soles of the feet to the crown of the head, bringing in all the things that you do desire. Whole body, resting on the ground, back of the body, relaxing, shoulders melting, hips sinking, legs relaxed, thighs, hamstrings, knees, the hollow space behind the knees, shins, calves, the looseness of the ankles, gratitude to the soles of the feet, positive energy radiating from all 10 fingers and all 10 toes, whole body lying there. And that's right. Gently allowing the breath to deepen, inviting movement back into fingers and toes, maybe wiggling them. You can move the head side to side if that feels good to you. Maybe you open and close the mouth, lick the lips. Perhaps circling wrists and ankles as you're lying there. Whenever it is right for you, on a big inhale, lengthen arms and legs out like a tall good morning stretch. On your exhale, if it's appropriate, hug your knees into your chest. Maybe you rock your back out a little bit. And then when it's right, roll over onto your right side, fetal position, pausing here. Just relishing the moment. Perhaps pausing to see something kind and loving to yourself. Being thankful to the body for all it does for you. And then using that right elbow, left hand, press your way up, using upper body strength, coming back to a seated position that's comfortable for you. If you'd like to join, you can bring the hands into the heart center, Anjali Mudra. The thumbs can come up to the forehead for honest thought, to the lips for honest speech, and to the heart for honest intention. And namaste. Thank you so much. So great to be with you here. This is a little bit long of a class, but I thought it was a fun one. I hope you guys enjoyed. If there's anything that you're interested in for Thankful Thursday, please just send me a message. I'll put all my contact information up here. Also, we do appreciate anyone following on YouTube. It's just my name, Ashley Lynn Capito. It helps get the word out because all of these videos do get published the same night or at least within 24 hours on the YouTube channel so that they're a resource for others to use. I'm available for private hypnosis, private yoga, yoga therapy, aromatherapy, bowls, etc., Reiki. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed and take some time to find something to be thankful for today. All right? Peace out. Goodbye. Thank you.